Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to the Essay English Click. In today's episode, we're talking about a problem every English learner faces: learning new words and then forgetting them. Why does this happen? And more importantly, how can you remember English words forever? Stay with me, because today I'll share powerful and easy strategies that will completely change the way you learn vocabulary. Let's get started. Have you ever learned a new English word, felt confident about it, and then the next day, it completely disappeared from your memory? You look at the word and think, I know this, I studied this yesterday. Why can't I remember it? If this has happened to you, don't worry, you are not alone. In fact, this is one of the most common frustrations for English learners around the world. And today, I want to tell you something very important. Forgetting words does not mean you are bad at English. It does not mean you are not smart. It does not mean you cannot learn. It simply means you are human. The first thing we need to understand is that there is a big difference between recognizing a word and remembering a word. When you read something and see a word, your brain might say, "Oh yes, I've seen this before." That is recognition. But when you are speaking and you want to use that word without looking at a book, that is recall. Recall is much harder than recognition. Many students think they know a word because they recognize it while reading. But when it's time to speak, the word is gone. This is normal. Recognition lives on the surface of memory. Recall lives deeper in the brain. Now let's talk about memory in a simple way. Your brain has something called short-term memory and long-term memory. Short-term memory is like a small table. You can put a few things on it, but after a short time, they fall off. Long-term memory is like a big storage room. Once something goes there, you can find it again and again. The problem is that most learners only put new English words on the small table. They study a long list of vocabulary today, maybe 20 or 30 words, and tomorrow most of them fall off. Why? Because they were never moved to the storage room. Another big mistake learners make is memorizing words in isolation. They see a word and its translation in their language. For example, achieve or improve. They repeat it 5 times, maybe 10 times, and think they learned it. But the brain does not like isolated information. The brain loves meaning, emotion, stories, and connection. When you memorize only translation, the word has no life. It has no story. It has no feeling. So your brain decides it is not important and deletes it. Think about this. Do you forget your name? Do you forget your home address? Probably not. Why? Because those words are connected to your identity and your daily life. They have meaning and emotion. But when you memorize a random word from a list, your brain thinks this is not important for survival. So it removes it. This is not weakness. This is efficiency. Your brain is trying to protect space. There is also something called emotional memory. When you feel something strongly, you remember it better. If you learn a word during a funny story, a shocking news event, or a personal experience, that word stays longer in your memory. But when you learn words in a boring way, just reading and repeating silently, there is no emotion. And without emotion, memory becomes weak. That is why some people remember words from movies more easily than from textbooks. Movies create feelings. Feelings create memory. Another reason we forget words is overload. Many students are too ambitious. They say, "Today I will learn 50 new words." But your brain is not a machine. When you give it too much information at once, it becomes tired. Imagine trying to carry 50 heavy bags at the same time. What will happen? You will drop most of them. The same thing happens with vocabulary. Learning fewer words deeply is much more powerful than learning many words quickly. And finally, let's talk about time. Memory needs repetition over time. If you learn a word today and never review it, your brain will slowly erase it. This is natural. It is called the forgetting curve. Without review, most information disappears within days. But here's the good news. When you review at the right time, the memory becomes stronger each time. Forgetting is not failure. It is part of the process. So if you forget English words, please stop blaming yourself. Stop saying, "I am bad at English." Instead, say, "I just need a better system." Because the problem is not your intelligence. The problem is the method. In the next sections of this podcast, I will show you exactly how to move words from short-term memory to long-term memory. You will learn how to connect, use, review, and remember vocabulary in a smart way. Remember this: forgetting is normal. But with the right strategy, remembering becomes powerful, and that is exactly what we are going to learn together here on Easy English Click. Now that you understand why you forget words, it's time to fix the problem. In this section, I'm going to give you 5 powerful techniques that will completely change the way you remember English vocabulary. These are not complicated methods. They are simple, practical, and proven. If you use them correctly, you will stop forgetting words so easily. Let's start with the first technique. Learn words in context, not alone. Never learn a word by itself. A word without a sentence is like a person without a story. For example, don't just learn the word improve. Instead, learn it in a sentence. I want to improve my English speaking skills. When you learn it inside a real sentence, your brain understands how the word works. It knows the grammar, the feeling, and the situation. Context creates meaning, and meaning creates memory. So from today, every time you learn a new word, write at least one sentence with it. The second technique is association. Your brain loves connections. When you connect a new word to an image, a memory, or something personal, it becomes stronger. For example, imagine you are learning the word confident. Don't just memorize the definition. Close your eyes and remember a moment when you felt confident. Maybe during a presentation, an exam, or a conversation. Connect that feeling to the word. Now the word is not just vocabulary, it is your experience. You can also create funny images in your mind. The more unusual or emotional the image is, the easier it is to remember. Technique number 3 is spaced repetition. This means reviewing words at the right time. If you learn a word today, review it tomorrow. Then review it again after 3 days. Then 1 week later. Each time you review, the memory becomes stronger. Many learners review only once, or they review too late. The secret is short, regular review sessions. Even 5 minutes a day can make a big difference. Don't wait until you forget everything. Review before the word disappears completely. The fourth technique is say the word out loud. Speaking activates more parts of your brain than silent reading. When you say a word, your mouth muscles move, your ears hear the sound, and your brain processes pronunciation. This creates something called muscle memory. That is why children learn language by speaking, not by reading lists. So when you learn a new word, repeat it out loud several times. Then say it inside a full sentence. Don't be shy. Even if you are alone, speak. Your brain remembers active language much better than silent language. The fifth and most powerful technique is active recall. This means testing yourself without looking at the answer. For example, instead of reading a list and thinking, "Yes, I know this," close the book and try to remember the words. Or look at the meaning and try to say the word. This small struggle is very important. When your brain works hard to remember something, it becomes stronger. Easy review feels good, but difficult recall builds memory. Let's combine these 5 techniques with one example word: achieve. First, learn it in context. She worked hard to achieve her goals. Second, create an association. Think about a goal you achieved in your life. Third, review the word tomorrow and next week. Fourth, say it out loud clearly. Achieve, achieve, achieve. And finally, test yourself later. What is the word for reaching a goal? If you can answer without looking, that word is moving into long-term memory. You don't need to learn 50 words a day. Even 5 words a day using these techniques is powerful. The difference between forgetting and remembering is not talent. It is method. When you change the way you study, your results will change automatically. In the next section, we will talk about something even more important: how to use words in real life so you never forget them again. Because learning is good, but using is everything. Stay with me on Easy English Click. Now we come to one of the most important truths in language learning. If you don't use a word, you will lose it. You can study vocabulary every day. You can watch videos, read books, and memorize definitions. But if those words stay only inside your notebook and never come out of your mouth or your pen, they will slowly disappear. Language is not information. Language is action. And action creates memory. Many learners spend 80% of their time reading and only 20% speaking or writing. But if your goal is to remember words, this balance must change. Reading helps you recognize words, but speaking and writing force you to produce them. And production is powerful. When you try to use a word in a sentence, your brain has to search for it. That searching process strengthens memory. It's like going to the gym for your brain. The effort makes it stronger. Let me introduce you to something I call the 24-hour rule. Whenever you learn a new word, you must use it within 24 hours. If you don't, the chance of forgetting becomes very high. For example, today you learn the word improve. Before tomorrow ends, you must create at least one real sentence using it. You can say, "I want to improve my pronunciation." Or you can write it in your notebook. Or you can send it in a message to a friend. The important thing is simple. Use it quickly. Another powerful method is the 3-sentence challenge. For every new word, write 3 different sentences. Not 1, 3. Why 3? Because 1 sentence can be copied from a book, but 3 sentences require thinking. For example, if your word is confident, you can say, "She feels confident about the exam." Then, "I am more confident when I practice." And finally, speaking daily makes you confident. Now the word is flexible in your brain. It is not fixed in one situation. Flexibility makes memory stronger. You can also start talking to yourself in English. "Yes, I'm serious." Many people think this is strange, but it works. When you are walking, cooking, or driving, describe what you are doing in English. If you learned the word prepare, you can say, "I am preparing dinner." If you learned decision, say, "I need to make a decision." Self-talk creates daily repetition without pressure. And because it connects to your real life, it becomes meaningful. Another effective habit is recording your voice. Choose 5 new words and try to speak about them for 1 or 2 minutes. Don't worry about grammar mistakes. Focus on using the words naturally. When you listen to your recording, you will notice which words feel easy and which feel difficult. The difficult ones need more practice. This method builds both memory and confidence. You should also try to use new words in public spaces, like comments, social media posts, or language exchange apps. When you use a word in communication, it becomes real. It is no longer just something you studied. It becomes part of your identity as an English speaker. An identity is powerful. The more you see yourself as someone who uses English, the more your brain accepts it as important. Here is something very important. Do not wait until your English is perfect before you use new words. Perfection is the enemy of progress. If you wait until you feel 100% ready, you will never speak. Use words even if your sentence is simple, even if it's not perfect. Every time you use a word, you are sending a message to your brain. This is important. Keep this. Remember, memory grows through repetition, but strong memory grows through usage. Words are like tools. If you keep a tool in a box for years, you forget how to use it. But if you use it every day, it becomes natural in your hands. In the next section, we will talk about how to build a smart vocabulary system so your learning becomes organized and powerful, not random and confusing. Stay with me on Easy English Click. Now let me ask you an important question. How do you currently learn vocabulary? Do you open a dictionary and choose random words? Do you write long lists without organization? Do you study words today and completely change the topic tomorrow? If your learning feels random, your memory will also feel random. And that is exactly why many students feel confused after months of study. If you want to remember words long-term, you need a system. not more motivation, not more time. A system. The first rule of a smart vocabulary system is this: learn by topic, not randomly. Your brain remembers information better when it is grouped. For example, instead of learning decision, airport, improve, emotional, laptop in one list, choose one topic, like travel. Then learn words connected to travel. Flight, passport, luggage, destination, departure. When words are connected, your brain builds a network. And networks are stronger than isolated points. The second rule is learning word families. English words are like families. For example, happy, happiness, unhappy, happily. If you only learn happy, you know one word. But if you learn the family, you understand how English builds meaning. This multiplies your vocabulary without learning completely new words. The same with decide, decision, decisive. When you understand patterns, remembering becomes easier because your brain sees structure. Next, you must learn collocations. Collocations are words that naturally go together. For example, we say make a decision, not do a decision. We say strong coffee, not powerful coffee. If you learn words without their natural partners, you will hesitate when speaking. But when you learn them together, they become automatic. So instead of writing decision in your notebook, write make a decision. Instead of mistake, write make a mistake. This trains your brain to speak naturally. Now let's talk about your vocabulary notebook. Many students have notebooks, but they use them incorrectly. They just write word and translation. That is not enough. A smart vocabulary page should include the word, a simple definition in English, one example sentence, and maybe a personal sentence. You can also add pronunciation notes. When your notebook becomes interactive, it becomes powerful. It is not just storage. It is training. Some people prefer digital tools like apps. Others prefer paper notebooks. Both are good. Apps are great for spaced repetition and quick review. Notebooks are better for deep thinking and writing. The best solution? Use both. Learn deeply in your notebook, then review quickly using an app or flashcards. The key is consistency, not the tool itself. Another important part of your system is weekly review. At the end of each week, go back and review all the words you learned, not by reading silently, but by testing yourself. Cover the word and try to remember it from the meaning. Or create new sentences without looking. This weekly habit prevents forgetting. It also gives you confidence because you see your progress. Here is something powerful. Stop trying to learn advanced words all the time. Many learners think difficult words are more impressive. But basic words used correctly are more powerful than advanced words used rarely. Build your foundation first. Master common words deeply. When your foundation is strong, advanced vocabulary becomes easier to remember. Your vocabulary system should feel organized, calm, and repeatable. If your learning feels chaotic, your brain feels stressed. And stress reduces memory. But when your learning is structured, your brain feels safe. And safe brains remember better. In the final section, we will talk about the psychology of memory and motivation, how to stay consistent, confident, and committed long-term. Because remembering words is not just about technique. It is also about mindset. Now we arrive at the final and most powerful part of this episode, the psychology behind remembering words. Because vocabulary is not only about techniques, notebooks, or repetition, it is also about mindset, habits, and consistency. You can know all the best methods in the world, but if you don't stay consistent, nothing will change. Let me tell you something important. Consistency beats intensity. Many learners feel very motivated on Monday. They study for 2 or 3 hours. They learn 40 new words. They feel excited. But by Thursday, they are tired. By Sunday, they stop completely. This cycle repeats again and again. Big effort, short time, then nothing. But your brain doesn't need big effort. It needs regular contact. Imagine this. Instead of learning 40 words in one day, you learn just 5 words every day. 5 words may feel small, but in 1 week, that's 35 words. In 1 month, that's around 150 words. In 1 year, that's more than 1,800 words. And not just words you saw once, words you reviewed, used, and remembered. Small daily habits create big long-term results. Another important psychological truth is this: your brain remembers what it believes is important. If you treat English as something extra or optional, your brain will treat it the same way. But if you use English every day, even for 10 minutes, your brain starts to understand, this is important for my life. Importance creates priority. Priority creates memory. That is why I always recommend creating a simple daily ritual. Maybe every morning you review 5 words. Maybe every night you write 3 sentences. It doesn't matter when. What matters is that it becomes part of your routine, like brushing your teeth. When something becomes automatic, it no longer depends on motivation. Let's talk about motivation for a moment. Motivation is emotional. Some days you feel excited, some days you feel tired. If your learning depends only on motivation, you will stop often. But habits are stronger than motivation. A habit says, I do this because this is who I am, and identity is powerful. Instead of saying, I am trying to learn English, say, I am becoming an English speaker. That small change in language changes your identity. And when your identity changes, your behavior follows. Another important thing: stop trying to be perfect. Many learners don't use new words because they are afraid of mistakes. They think, what if I say it wrong? But mistakes are not enemies. Mistakes are signals. They show you what to improve. If you never use a word, you will never master it. Remember this: confidence does not come before action. Confidence comes from action. Every time you use a word successfully, even in a simple sentence, your brain builds trust. That trust grows slowly. And one day, you will speak and realize the words are coming naturally. Here's a simple challenge for you. Start a 30-day vocabulary challenge. Every day, learn 5 words. Use them in 3 sentences. Review yesterday's words. That's it. Don't make it complicated. After 30 days, you will not only have learned 150 words, you will have built a powerful habit. And when you see progress, celebrate it. Don't wait until you are fluent to feel proud. Be proud of daily effort. Be proud of consistency. Progress is not loud. It is quiet and steady. Before we finish, let me remind you of something very important. Forgetting words is normal. Struggling is normal. But giving up is optional. If you use the strategies from this episode, context learning, association, spaced repetition, daily usage, and a smart system, you will see change. Learning English is not a race. It is a journey. And every word you remember is one step forward. If this episode helped you, share it with a friend who is struggling with vocabulary. And don't forget to subscribe to Easy English Click for more practical, simple, and powerful English lessons. Keep learning. Keep practicing. And remember, small steps every day create big results. See you in the next episode.